This video is different from all other videos in that we're going to talk about a completely different subject from bonsai. We're going to talk about the well-being that people get from doing plants, bonsai and dance. You must be wondering who we have here. If I ask them to introduce themselves, because I don't want to steal their thunder, all I can say that they are very famous dance people. So if you can just introduce yourself, please.
Well, hi, my name is Browley. I live in France. I'm from Portugal and Togo. And I love movement. And this is my partner.
Hello. I think I have to speak in the mic, so we will do it very interesting way. In an interesting way. This is it.
Yeah,
okay. So I just have to figure out. Yeah. My name is Inga. Yes, as Broly mentioned, I'm his dance partner. I come from Latvia, east-north part of Europe. We met on the dance floor. We met through the dance, improvising, and somehow we continue to explore and share our beliefs and thoughts about movements.
So you must be wondering how there is the connection between Browley, Inga and myself. I am fascinated by dance in many ways, but my latest interest in dance is a thing like West Coast Swing and other dance we call the expressive dance. It's a relatively unknown dance, but we have this common link, and because they are very superb dance people, they are champions in their own right, and I like to think that we do bonsai in our own right at a very high level. So there is this connection, but we are not going to talk about the excellence in anything, although excellence comes into it. What we are really wanting to talk about is why does dance and bonsai and plants have this therapeutic feeling or this well-being influence on people's lives. Many people go through life very stressful, not enjoying life and feeling a lot of pressure in life. But I've noticed when I do dance, because I don't like to talk too much about bonsai because that is my living, I'm here with it 24 hours a day. But when I take myself away from the bonsai, I find that dance is one of the activities that gives me a great deal of relaxation and pleasure. I don't want to hog the show too much, but when I was a young boy, I used to be a cycling champion in India. And when I was in college, the Indian Institute of Technology, which produces all the greatest techies in the world, including the head of Google and various people like that, it is a very high pressure cooking pot. There's a lot of competition. And when I used to feel stressed and my cycling, I used to go away from the campus and ride for miles in the forest. Nowadays that campus doesn't have many forests because it's built up. I'm talking about more than 60 years ago. But I used to ride in the forest in the greenery and among plants. I used to feel a lot of relaxation. And also the exercise helps you to relax. So all these things help you to relax. So when you put two and two together, you realize why these activities give you relaxation. I was doing just a little bit of research before I started talking. I went on Google and looked up why does plants make you relax, and also why does dance make you relax, and they all share something in common. It reduces stress level, it reduces blood pressure, it reduces all sort of cortisol and all that. I don't understand all these scientific things, but it has that effect. So what about you? You got some thoughts on this?
Want to start?
I will have to. I need a couple of moments. Let me just think. Yes, go on.
Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, what it does to me, it's very therapeutic indeed. It's when dancing, it starts really with, it's a possibility for me to just, first of all, quiet everything away, to really encounter myself, to pay attention to how I really feel, and let's say to be honest with myself. Like I am stressed, saying I am stressed, or I feel sad, or I feel happy. But taking a moment to not only feel, but also feel in your body without expectations, and sometimes I realizing also that I am driven by some expectations. I thought I was feeling like this, but actually when I pay attention, when I just really pay attention how physically things feel, the effect it has on my body, the environment, it just not only comes down, but calms me down, but it does resource me too, and brings other things, sadness, but gratefulness also for having the capacity of feeling things and getting in contact with myself and the environment that, by the way, we're so lucky. We're actually lucky, and discovering that, hey, it's not all here. That this part, actually, all our senses are we're driven by that also. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, it's so meditative. So meditative.
So how about me? Movement. Sometimes I feel that through movements, it's easier to express how I feel rather than with words. Sometimes I feel like I have not enough words, whatever the language, but through the movements, it helps me to, sometimes even let go something that is held inside. And even if you have a sitting position, for example, for a whole day, if you work in a sitting position, it feels like you lock your body. So even through the movements, through the even shaking simple things, it doesn't mean to be a beautiful dance. Just move, and you will exhale things that lots of stress or tension you have in your physical body, and it opens up your mind. And if talking about trees and plants, why that relaxes people, it is phenomenal that being here surrounded by so many different plants, it is just, I see the same movements, I see the same things almost, and they're so different, same as all of us. We're all different, and that somehow, I don't know, it is just uniqueness of each and every one, same as plant, and also us humans. And I believe that through gardening, through taking care of plants, trees, bushes, it is just movements you touch, and you are closer to the nature. So that is why. And if I'm talking about the movement itself, it's the same as if you think dancing, but when you're gardening, you do movements also. So it's moving together with nature, being together, closer to the nature. So that would be my reply.
So I think there are various aspects of these different pastimes, like bonsai is really gardening. So when we do gardening, there is an end result. So in your area also there's end result, but there's also the creative process while you're doing it. And there are different levels of doing it. Some people do it to a very high level and they get enjoyment, and you get enjoyment watching that performance at a high level. But I think it is more important, certainly in my way of thinking or my approach to bonsai as a pastime, I don't call it a high art, although it is art, is that it is the creative process that gives people enjoyment. That's why I always encourage my viewers that it is not always the creating of these impossible creations that people can never hope to achieve that is important. The most important thing is that you're actually creating it and enjoying it. That is what gives you the pleasure and release. I know even on the dance floor, some people maybe, when you look at them, you may laugh and say, they're rubbish dancers. But in their own feeling and in their own mind, they're enjoying it so much. We don't look at it that way. We tend to forget that, that fellow's a rubbish dancer or rubbish bonsai person. But for them, that activity has elevated them to a very high level. That is what we do not see.
Yeah.
So we're just using this as an example to bring you into that mindset and thinking about the things. We will talk about the art side in a minute because this is going to be a very long video, maybe in several parts, about the artistic side as well. What do you think as well? You are teachers, you have seen it in so many different ways, from so many different viewpoints.
It is. Yeah, I'll take
Sorry.
that. I keep on
Sorry.
I'm not
I will
used to
take
it.
care of that.
So what we do, was what we're still on doing and trying to achieve, not achieve, but our journey is on mindful movement dialogue. And it is true, everybody does things for different reasons. But on our side, what we share really, and that we've actually found, and that's also why we clicked together, is really this idea of the journey. Learning from experience. When we say experience, is not having successes necessarily, but having tried things, having been in action, having observing things, making what people call mistakes, which are just experiences. When we learn from them, even if it's not the next time that we succeed after having done a mistake, but all this journey, finding more about ourselves, finding more about all the potentials that we have, finding about the limitations sometimes we have. As you mentioned, maybe expectations of others, it should look cool, it should but when do we actually also sometimes ask ourselves, by the way, why am I doing this? Why am I in solo dance? Why am I doing movement? Why do I go social dancing? Why do I do bonsai? Is it for the end result? And it's okay. But is it for the process? The process. Really, it's really about, for us, movement is about the process. And what is very similar to this is that, as she mentioned before, each and every tree is different. You might have concepts, you might have books, you have my techniques, all of this, yes, masters have studied this. Yet all of them have studied and given advices or rules based on their own filters, based on their culture, on their opinions, etc. But each and everyone is an opportunity to learn new techniques, to learn new approaches, to see, even if a bonsai isn't to be looked in that way. Yeah, but if I look at it on the other way, how does it look? Just as in dancing, in partner dancing, we get to meet different people who move differently, and that dialogue, that communication helps us find more about ourselves, our capacities, and our limitations. Limitations are also part of our being, and this is really, the process is really something that drives us. That's why we're really into the mindful movement, a dialogue, because there's the dialogue within me, but there's the dialogue between us and the environment and everything that happens around. So yeah.
I will just, because I completely agree with you, but I still want to say something.
Of course.
What
dialogue.
Exactly. We are into improvisation, therefore the beauty of all of that is a moment, being present, because you will never be able to repeat it. Same as bonsais. Once there is this one direction, you change it, it's never going to be the same. So there is a beauty of the past, the future, and the present. And we are really into the present awareness of this moment. Therefore, we improvise, and our art is the one that you will never see again unless you film it. If you have a video, then you can see it again, but you can't reproduce it. So therefore, art could be different. It, I guess, matters how you see art, if it's always only on the stage, if it's always that you can, do it again and again and again the same way. That is one form of art, but I think our preference definitely, and we believe that the beauty is in the moment. So yes.
Yeah, that's a very important point, because people who are familiar with bonsai will know that we like to think of bonsai as art, And unlike other art forms like sculpture or painting, the visual arts, where once the piece is created, it stays like that forever. It'll hang in a museum and you can always admire it. But with bonsai, the artist never complete the trees forever growing. It changes all the time. And this is why the dance and the bonsai are so similar, so similar. And of course, as many of you will know, in bonsai art, although many people talk of the Zen philosophy and Zen culture as being Japanese, the original origins of Zen is Chinese. Zen is simply the Japanese way of saying Chan, which is similar to my name. This is the Chan Buddhism. And in that, one of the most important concepts in Zen is being in the moment. You're in the present, you live in the present. What you've experienced, what I've said this minute, will be recorded, but it will be disappeared forever. It will never come again. What you've seen, a beautiful sunset or a beautiful piece of scenery, all these trees in this condition, will never be the same again. Once it's gone, it's gone. But you've got to enjoy the moment. You have to enjoy the moment. You know, don't anchor about the past, the future. You just live the moment, which is what we are talking about.
Totally agree.
So this is where we are very similar in
Very
concepts.
similar. And we were showing this wonderful T-shirt that I remember that was offered last year, and I wear it often because it really relates to bonsai, the art of impermanence, which is really this, just as improvisation, living. Otherwise, it's being a robot, it's mechanical, it's structured in a way of repetition without life, without evolution. And this an art that is ever going. It's forever going, forever, because it's alive. It's alive. So
And
totally.
also the other concept in Zen, I know many people have not copied me, but I've written about this, the Zen concepts in my second book, Bonsai Masterclass. The concepts of wabi-sabi and all that. One of the important aspects of wabi-sabi is the concept of imperfection, you know, the beauty of imperfection. There is a pot here. I like to always show it. You just stay there. I will bring the pot to you because I want to show you this pot. I picked it up from a village somewhere in Japan. But this is a typical Japanese piece of ceramic. If you come close and look at it, look at this pot. This is a beautiful pot. It's not symmetrical or anything. It's all the different colors are different. But the most important thing in this pot, and the beauty of this pot, is in this part here. This thing here, that lip, is a fault, is a blemish. Can you see here? That is a blemish. And that is what makes this pot beautiful, because that is the imperfection of that pot. So sometimes when someone has an imperfection, a flaw in the personality, or flaw in a tree, there's a mistake in there that makes it perfect. So we should always try and look at imperfection as a separate aspect of beauty. Mm-hmm. It seems to be a contradiction in concept, isn't it? How can something be imperfect and still be beautiful in the common acceptance of the concept of beauty? So, do you find that as well?
Go on.
Okay.
Imperfection.
Imperfection. Something not perfect.
Well, as far as we're concerned, this is actually why, for example, we don't do performances. Not that we value that very much, but it's with the fear actually
Of being judged?
of falling into going for perfection, in the sense in one form, in only one form, the person of a certain type of aesthetic, trying to rub away what actually makes us unique. And it's just as here, it's this imperfection. Like, if I was only wanting to go by the perfection and the best way of doing things, then everything would be the same. It would always be the same. And how isn't what beauty is actually the multitude of colors? Why would there be one color that is the best, better than the other one? It's because the beauty of this comes from actually all the details of imperfection that make it perfect. And also it's a point of view. You have this, and sometimes people will look and sometimes hide the imperfection, and actually maybe that imperfection is that the beauty of it is that it's actually an open door to a new way of doing things. In a lot of fields, amazing things were discovered because there were imperfection and mistakes, things that were not expected. So on the contrary, it makes it beauty. If these trees didn't have obstacles, because imperfection is kind of an obstacle to a certain aesthetic and one way of seeing things, and remind that perfection also goes with sometimes cultures. Different people see beauty in different ways. Shapes, colors, etc. So if we were to be looking for perfection, we would miss so many great blends, great colors, great forms, and such a shame.
Because I speak body language, I will stand up just to express how I feel about this. We sometimes consider this could be ugly because, or you as a dancer, you don't have a posture, you have your knees inside, that is not appreciated, for example, in ballet, that has completely different language. But for us, this is a possibility to create something. But if we limit ourselves, only be standardized, that our body is missing a lot of movements that we could do if we would let this fear of being ugly, because someone considers us being ugly. But for us, we usually say, if that feels good, then the flow actually feels very good for us. For us, it's beautiful because it feels good. So that's it. I just wanted to show it.
Yeah. Actually, it comes to this very controversial topic of competition and judgment. I used to take part in a lot of competitions, but not like exhibiting dogs or cats and things. I believe in the dog and cat world, if the tail is not absolutely straight or is not curled in a certain way, they mark it down, you know. Mm-hmm. So everything has a stereotype. 100% if it is like that, it is 99% if it is like that. So there's no room for making mistake at all. And it is all in they've like written a rule book.
Yes.
It has to conform to the rule. And this is why when you judge a competition, you fall in that trap and you will destroy the creativity of that. As I say, it's a very controversial thing because sometimes I've come to the conclusion that you must never judge certain activities, you know, first, second and third. Who is to say that the second wasn't better than the first or the third wasn't better than the first? It was just in that other person's opinion, isn't it? So I often feel that it is, and one area where we should not go into that realm.
Unfortunately, this is true that sometimes also if we're talking about dancing, people often come to dance because they either like dancing or they want to move or they want to have some hobby. And then having this pressure of competitions often kill the joy of movement, just to move. Why do you dance? All of those standardized things that they want to reach because, I want to fit in, I want to be good in a competition, often kills the simple joy to move and to simply enjoy the movement. Yes, just this need to fit in a standardized box. So I personally find it sad that it could kill simple beauty of movement. So it's funny that you were talking about bonsais, but it so much resonates in towards dancing.
Every field. I know a lot of people that You can get trapped in it. You see these competitions, I want to be first, so I don't look good, I'm not looking good. And you strive for it and it destroys the joy. So I think more and more people should be taught that if you really want to enjoy it, forget all those sort of things. It's okay if you have a natural talent for it, but if you concentrate solely on the competition side, then the joy of that activity is lost.
And if I may, the coming back to this, the joy. There is something that is often expressed by people who believe it, and it's in their own rights. One of the main arguments is that competition motivates people. The competition, it's a really way to work on, because then to grow. And for some people it is. But first of all, there's enough competition all around in life already. Why adding another one when there's already, they actually came for a joy of. And do we always need to be in a competition and to be judged to actually enjoy? And can't we actually also grow through joy and not necessarily only through frustration? If my objective is the journey and learning more and experiencing, do I need to fall into a competition to actually do that? To push me to do that? Should I be pushed? Or should I find a purpose in what I do? Through competition or through the joy of the process? And this is one of the arguments that is often said, is like, yes, if you want to grow, you should compete. Like, and then people, they run for it, and then they consider that the results they got, without even knowing how they're judged, by the way, what exactly were the priorities of the criterias, in what order, then they lose the purpose, which is to win rather than to grow. But then as the results don't come, because there always has to be one, so does it mean that you didn't grow? No, it's just that these people didn't necessarily appreciate what you did, which is their right. And if you really want to go for it, go for it. But please, we really invite you not to forget why you were there at the first time. And is competition really, really the only way to grow, if growing is what you want?
So we still need to get back to this puzzle, or the question as to why do I feel that there is a connection between our art, bonsai, and dance. Well, to my mind, what appears to me is that a tree has dynamic movement, although it is still. It is not running around. It's not like an animal which can move. It is fixed to the pot. Trees which grow in the ground are fixed to the ground. And there is no shaking about of the tree unless the wind is blowing it. But from what I see of these trees are good examples, because the movement is in the dynamic curves you see in this tree. If you look at this tree, you see how dynamic it is. The branches are dynamic. That one, the trunk is dynamic. It goes this way and sweeps back. That one is dynamic. And trees that have a lot of dead wood and driftwood, they have been struggling against the storms and the winds, and the storms and the winds have blown it. Now these are bits of dead wood that I picked up from the beach in Cyprus. And look at it, this has been blown by the wind. The wind would be blowing this way. And this would have caused the tree to grow like this. And this, by the way, is a piece of thyme. You know, thyme is such a small herb. Normally the stems are so thin. So this tree would, before it died, would be at least 100 or more years old. Probably even older, to get a thick trunk like that. So this would have struggled with the storm and the wind, so there had been movement in its lifetime. So this is how I can see the connection between dance and bonsai and trees, because even these compositions have movement in it. But what does it appear to you? What is your connection?
So
Go on.
Yeah, yeah.
So, there's different things, and what you suggested is already just like in dancing, in movement. It all depends what you're all looking for. Like I can look at from I just look at it like this, but depending on what also is your intention, are you really trying to learn more about that one? That tree, and then when you look at from different angles, then you see all those these dynamics that you were talking about. Like otherwise, if I just see a tree, if I don't get that connection, and I try looking from different aspects, trying to understand why did that happen, what happened, and you can find so much, and you can then see the dynamic. Almost sometimes, I'm sure, the story of the tree sometimes. And just like in dancing, when we see people, often when we approach people that want to be learning how to move and etc., we told them, just move first. Let's see who you are. Let's see how you move. Let's understand what you are. What are your paths? What are your own paths? And let's contribute. Let's work with that. And we seeing different that instead of trying to match in one way. And as you said, like all this different I'm curious of what is the story of that tree. Why is it saying? You mentioned here the wind, and finding out about all these different aspects that created this bonsai today, but tomorrow it's going to be different. It's going to continue to evolve.
But the other aspect, we were talking earlier, and you were talking about the artist that creates this tree. There is the connection between the shaping.
Yes.
Just as in dance, you're connecting. Part of dance, you touch.
Totally.
So here, you're touching the tree, you're pruning it, touching it. That is the touch. You're connecting with the tree. There is a connection between the artist and the tree.
Yes.
Just as the partner.
Just as the partner.
You're touching, connecting the tree. So there's a empathy between the artist and the bonsai. Whatever you're creating it. You're in touch with it. You know,
Totally.
It's not a separate thing which is divorced from you. It is part of you. You know, whatever you create has become part of you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Including you got to learn about that tree, because just as in dancing, in Lina, when you have couple dancing, when you're dancing with another human being, another person, just as here, you could force the bonsai to do something, but with the risk of breaking it. So there is this connection of, okay, I can impact it through time, but I still got to see also where it's going itself, so that I make the best use of it, and when to be actually impacting. Is it every 2 months, every 3 years, or every two? I'm not a specialist, but I'm sure there is a moment where it is best for the tree to be taken care of to actually eventually impact it. And so this relation, this connection, a tree impacts me. Even if I'm the pruner, I'm dancing with it. Even if I have an image, it inspires me also. And while doing it, I learn so much about myself. I am sure. We talked about it also with Rebecca, one of your employees, and where this connection, we are both dancing. Just as when we are dancing together, I am not there to make her execute something. She's not there just to respond to me. Without her background, without her preferences, without her own movement, without her genetics, without her likes, I can't even myself grow as much as I could. So we're both leading and following, impacting, having a dialogue, talking about that empathy between the tree and yourself, having empathy for the tree, and also the environment, how the environment also the floor when we're dancing, the music,
Yeah.
all of that, the weather, all of that, the soil, where it is, all of that have an impact. To be able, I'm sure, to do that, maybe there was a stone there that made it have that hole. I mean, you mentioned, so all of this can impact the dancing and the belief. So, but that relation, it's dancing. Even when I'm pruning, I could just do the act, or I could leave that moment and
And
dance.
something you said about not forcing, like when you dance, partner dance, you don't force the follower always to do something. So in a tree, you cannot force it. You force it too much, it will break it. It can cause damage to that. Huh?
Yes.
So in the same way, there's so many similarities,
similarities.
that you've got to respect that tree. You've got to respect what you're working on. So in exactly the same way, there are these comparisons, similarity.
It teaches to be humble,
Yeah.
to be really humble.
Yeah, to be present and to see what you have on the front of you. Who is there? What kind of shape? What do you have? I really like what you said about, and you both mentioned about not forcing, because you might invite also the bonsai, because we have done the bonsai. Thank you, Peter. We have some kind of experience, a little bit, but still, not only by watching, but experiencing how the very, very beginning could be. And yeah, you can't force it to go too, it's like, I want you to be like that. No, you can't, because this tree doesn't go that way. So there's a lot of respect, like, again, being present. And we didn't say that actually we have our name, our partnership name, that is being, and it's just being as it is, being human, being present, being
In the process.
in a process, all of those things. And if talking about like how I see the relation, yes, I really like this idea of having a movement between a plant, a tree, and its person who is taking care and helping the tree to shape and get new shapes. But I also like what you, Peter, says about different dynamics that each tree has, because when I look at these three examples you have here, I could dance 3 different dances, although you could find similarities, but again, they're so unique, they're so different that all of them would...
And this is just 3. We have
Yes,
hundreds.
exactly.
We have
Looking at
hundreds, and
these
they're all
three.
different. They're all different.
They're all different.
And in
all
the world, there
beautiful.
are millions of bonsai. They're all different.
And again, if wanting just to all of them wanting to look the same, it doesn't work. It's like us. It's like us dancers. If you want to have a standards, it just doesn't work because they're different. They always will be different, unique.